A typical question that plagues every grown viewer who once watched Higglytown Heroes as a kid. How come there have been no Vigglytown Villains to be seen? Yeah, I started questioning that myself about a week ago. Vigglytown Villains. Well, simply because Higglytown Heroes likes to keep it light for the preschoolers. You probably shouldn't expect Higglytown Heroes to have any villains in it. As far as I can remember, the closest Higglytown Heroes has actually gotten to it even having a villain in it. It was that pumpkin monster in the story Uncle Emma was telling the kids about his silly made-up origin for jack-o'-lanterns. Where the main characters of the story were the kids frantic but becoming their Halloween costumes. But seriously, I mean, think about it. We got a lot of everyday heroes such as the firefighters and police officers, dentists, chicken farmers, newspaper reporters who are independent journalists. So, yeah, why not also focus on the everyday villains like robbers or kidnappers, people who spread propaganda, or really corporate executives trying to run a business by ruining it for the consumers. Well, obviously, such a subject matter would be a bit too heavy for Higglytown Heroes. I guess there are ways they could do it. I guess there are ways Higglytown Heroes could have done some big Higglytown villain things in which I guess there is a way they could have done this if sorry, the wind's blowing the camera around. I guess there is some way they could have done this if, they were, I guess Higglytown Heroes could have done something with Vigglytown Villains if they were, the foil to the hero that the Higglytown Hero needs to stop. For instance, in Wayne's Day Out, when Katie Seagal's policewoman from the Valentine's episode, and Matthew St. Patrick's policeman were the Higglytown Heroes finding Wayne when he's lost. The Vigglytown villain of the story could be a kidnapper to raise the stakes, or in the day the diner stood still. The Vigglytown villain could be a tabloid person who exploits and profits off of the alien rumor, who really wants everyone to believe that aliens are attacking Uncle Emma's diner. But the Higglytown Hero, Higglytown Hero did pretty well without that. It really thrives in these low stakes conflicts that have a hero without a villain. Although, I guess if somebody wanted, I guess if the child stars of Higglytown Heroes wanted to pass down what they learned to the next generation, and they could consult the original creators and Jeff Woolen for advice on how they could reboot it. It would be kind of cool in theory if they made a slightly edgier, non-preschool Higglytown Heroes that was still for kids, but also had Vigglytown Villains in it. Vigglytown Villains for the Higglytown Heroes to foil, or just, you know, I mean, not Vigglytown, I mean Higglytown Villains that the Higglytown Heroes could foil. You think that a show you think that a show educating children about everyday heroes with no actual everyday villains to face will get boring over the course of 65 episodes. But it makes for pretty fun. But in an innocent cartoon about cute little nesting doll people, it really works as fun escapist entertainment, with lots of variety to be had in songs and silly animation. Because it has the best directors on their block, who are also two of the show's co-creators, George Evelyn and Dennis Morella. And George Evelyn, Holly Huckins, Dennis Morella, Kent Red Decker, they write most of the episodes. And most of his episodes are written by one of those four people, too. Well, yes, sometimes they also include other writers. But yeah, my point is, Higglytown Heroes works as a show in spite of being very low concepts, because it has the best directing to make it a very entertaining and memorable show, unlike Chalk Zone, which had a very interesting high concept, but not a lot of and characters, but not a lot of good direction to make it memorable to watch. That's Chalk Zone first. Now how to make exciting things boring. Or private people who do privatization. They could also be a Vigglytown villain to stop. Or arsonists even, maybe the firefighter hero could have an arsonist Higglytown villain to stop. No, that would be much too dark for kids. I was just joking. I don't really do that. But yeah, the real life equivalent of the Vigglytown Villains have gotten particularly infamous for how they ruined the United States in the early 2020s. I mean, it's been apparent since, such nasty, selfish people have been doing it since at least the 1980s or 1970s, but it's become much more obvious in putting clear perspective in the early 2020s because of how irresponsible the United States leaders have been with the coronavirus. And masks, lots of people just being too entitled to wear masks. Not caring about any COVID safety protocols. But I think it's actually a good thing Higglytown Heroes didn't have any Higglytown, or had very few Higglytown villains in it, because I would have been pretty scared. I probably would have been pretty scared of the show if it did have any Higglytown villains in it. It wouldn't be so wholesome then. I know Twinkle's always disappointed when her study doesn't work out because of one problem within, but she's just a cheery, positive girl. I know she wouldn't let. Hopefully, she would never let. Hopefully, she'd never let that weigh her down or turn her into a Vigglytown villain. But yeah, speaking of Vigglytown villains, Vigglytown villains really reached their peak at the January 6th insurrection. In fact, I actually got to see in an alternate universe. I saw the evil counterpart of Higglytown Heroes, Vigglytown Villains. It's the one that teaches kids about everyday villains, right? And in this episode of Vigglytown Villains that I saw a week ago about the evil bizarro counterparts of these 4 kids, they were part of the Vigglytown Villains fictionalized version of the insurrection. They were upset when Joe Biden won and Donald Trump lost. So Twinkle drew up a really silly plan to Bizarro Twinkle drew up a really silly plan to get Joe Biden out of the White House and overturn the election so Donald Trump comes back in. They build a giant They just get a dozen of construction monkeys with use their monkey wrenches to make these 2 giant teleportation machines that are connected to each other, and then they use an invisibility potion. They make an invisible potion to turn themselves invisible, so they can sneak one of the things past. They can sneak one of those teleportation hoops past the White House security. And on the day when Joe Biden gets inaugurated, they would use the teleported machine to. When he gets in office, they'll use the teleportation machine to switch him out for Donald Trump, because the other teleportation machine will be at Donald Trump's home. So that's how that's how evil Twinkle plans to get Donald Trump back in office. It'll be the best inauguration day prank ever to her, and it would have been a lot less violent than the insurrection that took place, at least. I know it's pretty embarrassing when you actually have to thank Donald Trump Jr. or the Bizarro Twinkle for preventing an insurrection from getting much worse and much more out of hand. As Myers said, the only thing worse than this insurrection would be having to thank Donald Trump for stopping it, or at least stopping it from being worse. And Bizarro Fran said, "That's one patriotic idea, Twinkle, but there's just one problem. Even if we could turn ourselves invisible, there's no way we could get the person-sized teleporter into the Oval Office without breaking the walls down. The doors are too small." And then Bizarro Twinkle goes, pickles. And then they sung the Vigglytown Villains song. Get ready to hear the opposite of the usual I'm a Higglytown Heroes song. Someone special, who could it be? This job's too big for you and me. We need some help. But never fear, it looks like a job for a Higglytown hero. A Higglytown hero. Yes, it's me. Sorry, hold on, let me restart. Sorry, I forgot to. Sorry, let's take very long. Sorry, let me try this again. Someone special, who could it be? This job's too big for you and me. We need some help. If someone's willing, this looks like a job for a Vigglytown villain. A Vigglytown villain. Yep, it's me. Ex-President Donald Trump here, soon to be president again. I'm your Vigglytown villain. I'm a Vigglytown villain, brave and true. I hurt the town with the things I do. So work real hard and you will see that you can be a villain. Just like me. A villain just like me. I'm the worst president of the United States. Subjecting average people to cruel fates. Spreading lies from a self-serving government. That's where stolen wages went. Wayne's question. Can you accuse voters of fraud until they lose their faith in God? Twinkle's question. Or storm the Capitol if people mad you lost the poll? Yes, they can do both, we must. Throw Mike Pence under the bus. Oh yeah. Yes, they can do both, we must. Throw Mike Pence under the bus. My supporters will destroy democracy with right-wing autocracy. I'm a Vigglytown villain, bold and bad. I hurt my foes to make them feel sad. So work real hard, that's what we'll do, so we can be a villain just like you. A villain just like you. But of course the Higglytown Heroes would never ever do that. This is all just meant as a satirical parody. The bizarro Higglytown Heroes show known as Vigglytown Villains does not really exist. I just made it up. Now, at the end of my imaginary story, obviously the bizarro Higgly kids and bizarro friend, they all got seriously injured, but Donald Trump paid them a visit in the hospital, or maybe, unless he also got hurt, maybe he wouldn't visit them. Whatever, Donald Trump visited them because he was glad that those kids and their squirrel had so much faith in him. And he said to them, I know the insurrection didn't work out, but if you lie your way to victory like I did, pretty soon you too can be. And then they all say, Vigglytown Villains! But yeah, I'm just really thankful that I'm just super thankful that for now there is no such thing as Vigglytown Villains. Just like how there's also no such thing as a Jelly Bean Jackpot. But there could be such thing as Vigglytown Villains in an alternate universe. I'm just very glad it is not this one. Okay, now what the Higgly kids actually did in the Higglytown Heroes universe, what they actually did after the January 6th insurrection was, well, obviously they didn't go, but after learning more and more crazy things with Seth Meyers and Amber Ruffin, just this past Wednesday, Twinkle actually did draw up a silly plan for how it could get even crazier after they learned about all these texts from Fox News reporters and Donald Trump Jr. telling Mark Meadows to tell Donald Trump to stop the insurrection that was about to go down, and pretended to support because, well, that's just their job as a right-wing news network with no fairness doctrine. But yeah, this Wednesday, like back in December 15th, the Higgly kids actually attended they were in the audience of their fictionalized version of Seth Meyers and Amber Ruffin's recording of Wednesday's December 15th show. And a few hours before, just 2 hours before the episode aired, Twinkle had a silly idea for how it could get crazier, and they actually used it in the show. They digitally added it in. Twinkle went, oh, I know. Now, whenever Twinkle talks like that, she always sounds like she has to use the potty. So yeah. Yeah, Twinkle's silly idea was that Donald Trump laid out a bunch of $100 bills on the floor on his last day in the Oval Office, and he held a seance for the ghost of Benjamin Franklin, the founding father, on a $100 bill, and appealed to the fact that Benjamin Franklin was the only founding father who never got to be the president of the United States, when he asked him to help him overturn the election. And then France said, that's one spooky idea, Twinkle, but there's just one problem. If the ghosts of the founding fathers knew what Donald Trump was doing, that ruining their core beliefs for the past 5 years, defying their core beliefs for the past 5 years, there's no way they would help him overturn an election to make him the president again. And then that's when I'm going, pickles. But Liliana and Movie was still super proud that they ended up using her idea anyways by digitally adding it in. It was the punchline to Seth's joke about digitally adding in more information after between the time when they record it and before it airs, because they don't usually broadcast live, and the January 6th show was a rare exception to that rule.